into the thick of the action. Firouzja needs to recover. At a moment's notice, Magnus feeling a lot more comfortable. You can see it on the camera. He's back in the zone, and it's the Italian game, Robin. I can confirm I did have some pasta for dinner last night. I'm inspired by those Italians we saw. And wow, what do you make of this opening choice? Bring the bishop out early to g5 in a must-win situation.
I think it's a good call from Alireza and a better call from Magnus, not pushing his g-pawn, as is the case in many Italian games when your opponent brings the dark square bishop out with a pin. So instead, Magnus, he brought his bishop to c5, then back to e7. He wastes a turn, so to speak, but it's to keep the foundation of his position solid. Do not give Alireza the type of aggressive play that he so desperately desires.
Yeah, Magnus just trying to lock things down. We mentioned he will try to suck the life out of this position. He won't want to allow it to explode, to become fun. But Firouzja, he has this uncanny knack of making positions exciting later on, making them really complicated. Sometimes it backfires on him. We've seen that in that previous game. But Firouzja, if he can somehow make it happen when Magnus least expects it, he does stand a chance. Right now, rook to e1. Feels like Firouzja's in preparation. Look at the clock times. Magnus pushes a pawn. He's next going to move the king out of the eye line of the white light square bishop. And it might be on the king side here, Robin. Firouzja needs to strike, and soon, in the center.
As you said, the knight can jump out to h5 to put some pressure on this bishop on g3. So the idea is clear now from Magnus. He was a bit lacking in space, in particular his bishop on e7 that's staring into its own pieces. So he is trying to create new avenues for the rest of his pieces. I love the move g6. It's a very smart play. Now for Alireza's development, knight c3, maybe even knight to d5 if the black knight never moves. Or do you save your bishop, David, with a move like h3? It's a bit calmer, it's quieter, but it does keep the game going in a way that Alireza may want.
Yeah, I like pawn to h3, creating a nice escape square for that bishop on h2. Also preventing one of black's main ideas. If white breaks out in the center, I would love to play pawn to d4, open the middle of the board, control the middle of the board potentially, but pawn to d4 here might run into bishop to g4, pinning and at least causing some discomfort for white. So pawn to h3, a multi-purpose move, you call it, Robin, on the board now. And Magnus, he might not have time to play on the king side with his f-pawn. He plays rook to e8, a bit inconsistent, but he's trying to get ready for white d4 pawn push, which looks imminent, might even happen now on this next turn. And bishop to f8, very passive. Viewers at home might be wondering, you know, the freestyle challenge, the freestyle goat challenge starts in a couple of days. Why is he putting all his pieces back on the back rack? But Magnus just trying to get organized. He's trying to improve the scope of his rook.
And the bishop will come to g7, where if d4 is played, it will have a longer diagonal to work with. This was the cost of Magnus Carlsen's opening. It wasn't just time, it was shutting the door on activity for the dark square bishop. And this bishop on c8, we typically tell you not to move the same piece multiple times. This dark square bishop has moved 3 times. The bishop on c8 hasn't moved at all. Eventually, it can go to a square like e6, but there's no rush for it because that bishop...
Suddenly, you can see it on the camera visibly. Firouzja is nervous. He realizes it's no longer within his grasp necessarily. He still needs to play really well and just to fend off Black's active play. He's given the opponent a clear-cut plan, and that is the cardinal sin of rapid chess. 1 minute 30 against 4 minutes. Suddenly it's an uphill struggle. Suddenly Armageddon is a distant dream. Rook to b4, I love it, Robin. He plays it, Alireza. He is going for those black pawns, those weak pawns, and he's going to at least be able to stop from behind the forerunner, the black e4 pawn, if it steps forward. But where does Magnus now see counterplay? It feels like it's just a totally irrational endgame, really hard to evaluate.
Irrational is a good word, not maybe necessarily in life, but for this position, because rook takes g4 is check. White currently has 6 pawns, black has 5. It's actually hard to count them because you see that they're all scattered, they're mostly isolated, and after rook takes g4, black will be a pawn down. So I would take this pawn on g4 and then try to bring my rook back to e4 to freeze black's pawns before they run forward. And this is looking like a position where Magnus needs to prove that he can hold the half point. And whoa! As soon as I say that, the wrong move from Alireza and the blue arrow is in, David. Rook d2, and Magnus isn't just okay. Apparently he's winning.
Wow, Alireza missing the opportunity to grab a pawn for free with check. I'm not so sure about that one. He maybe was afraid of taking that pawn, allowing the black king closer towards the center, but of course Magnus jumps on that opportunity. He finds the move indicated by the blue arrow. Exclamation point. E2 is coming, followed by rook to d1 check, and you're landing, you're touching down. That black pawn is going to become a new queen. It's coronation day almost, not just for the king, Magnus Carlsen, but for that e-pawn. Alireza, he lost control, he allowed too much counterplay. Suddenly, hard to even find a move, Robin. It's inevitable, you can't stop Black's plan.
And I wonder what the difference was, because a turn ago, it was all zeros, and rook takes g4 that could have stolen a pawn. I don't know why that would have changed the nature of this position. Rook f1 played, black can, in fact, push the pawn to e2. You'll get this rook for a bishop and pawn. I wouldn't actually want that just yet. Can black slow down? David, can black be extra greedy, protect this bishop first, and then push the pawn next? Magnus does it.
Magnus does it. We saw that look on Magnus's face, that kind of momentary, that confusion, that frown. Why not? Why aren't I just winning right now? And I think it's starting to settle in. It's starting to kind of become real for both players. They know Alireza now down to 10 seconds. Nothing he can do. Pawn to e2 wins a whole rook. This might be the last few moves of the Chessable Masters 2024. Pawn to e2 looks automatic here, Robert. Why not? The black bishop's defended. Nothing to do. Alireza looked away. 4 seconds left. Is this the final moments of the tournament?
It is Magnus Carlsen. He needed a draw, but he gets a win, and you can see that he is relieved. He's happy because Alireza Firouzja